Today we have Jake Berne, who's making his New York City theatrical debut in Archduke at Roundabout Theater, talking all about historical figures from research to rehearsal to performance. I'm Haley Herman, and this is Broadway Lectures. Hi, Jake.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Everyone, today we have Jake Berne, who's making his New York City theatrical debut in the new show Archduke. Tell us about it. Tell us about your journey, how you got to Archduke, what you did before. Who is Jake?
Yeah, thank you. So I grew up outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been acting, doing community theater, school plays since I was a little kid. Just got bit by the bug for as long as I can remember, and went to University of Georgia. Studied acting, but not really like a big theater school. More, I just wanted like the college experience and to be amongst all different kinds of people. And then after school, I lived in Atlanta for a little while and did some of the acting in Atlanta, worked at some of the theaters there. But then eventually I was like, if I want to make a run for this, I got to move to New York City.
Yep.
So moved here about 3 weeks before COVID. I moved here in February of 2020.
Oh, that's tough.
And yeah. Bright-eyed, ready to move to the big city. And then suddenly everyone's wearing like gloves and masks. And left for a while, found my way back. And for the past few years, I've just been auditioning and doing some regional theater. And now I'm doing Archduke, and it's just been a dream come true.
Awesome. What was the audition process like for Archduke?
It was a kind of long, drawn-out process. I first got an audition from my agent in March or April, and it was just a self-tape, and it felt like any other audition.
Yep.
But I love Roundabout theater, so I saw that it was at Roundabout, and I was like, oh my God, this would be like the most amazing thing ever. And then I saw that it was Rajiv Joseph, who is just, I think, one of our greatest living American playwrights right now. And so I read the play and saw the role, and it was one of those moments where I was like, in real time, seeing a dream role in a dream show just jump out of the page.
Wow.
And so I did the self-tape and then didn't hear anything for like 4 months.
Agonizing.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know how it is. And just thought it must have gone somewhere else and yada, yada, yada. And then in like end of June or July, I got an email being like, can you come in next week for a callback? Did a couple callbacks, and then that all happened really fast, and here we are.
And here we are. And can you tell us what Archduke is about for anyone who's unfamiliar?
Yeah. Let's see if I can do this. Wow, that's a tough question. Archduke by Rajiv Joseph is about the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which for those of us that maybe paid attention in a world history class in high school, that is what kind of kicked off the First World War. But it's less about the actual assassination and more about the conspiracy that led to the assassination and the manipulation of these young boys into doing the violent act. And the manipulation by the legendary Patrick Page, who plays the Captain Opus, who takes these boys in and manipulates them.
That sounds fantastic. And it's an absurdist take on it, right?
Yeah, explaining it that way is then funny to say. It's hilarious, and it is like an absurdist dark comedy take on this whole thing, and very like Beckett-esque.
Wow. And that's kind of what you're here to talk about today, is your research process into your role for Archduke, and kind of what it's like doing a historical show, yet still with absurdism and all that stuff. So what inspires you to choose your topic?
Yeah, I've just been, I love history, and I love doing research. And as an actor, I think one of my favorite parts about doing any role or show is the research part before you actually do it, immersing yourself in a new topic or a new world. And just every role and show is just a new chance to open up a whole new like avenue of study, and I love that. So I found that exciting, and this show is so interesting because it is so much about the history, but also I think it really reflects our modern society and political violence and disillusioned young men and boys on the internet looking for, I don't know, a meaning in life. So much of the play is about these boys looking for meaning in life. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what it's like playing historical characters, but also bringing a modern twist on it.
Yeah. So what has your process been? What have you found? What have you researched?
Oh my God.
What did it look like?
So I never thought I would know so much about the South Slavic states in pre-World War I.
Right.
But at first I like just dove right into the actual history of, so I don't know if I said this yet, but I play Gavrilo, which is, who is Gavrilo Princip, who is the young man, the 19-year-old who assassinated the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, the Duchess Sophie. And so first I just learned all about his life, and I found some great podcasts. We love podcasts here on Broadway Lectures. Found some great podcasts all about his life and his journey and the assassination. Read a couple of really interesting books. One was called Sleepwalkers, and then another one which was a great book called The Trigger by Tim Butcher, which was this British journalist who followed the footsteps of Gavrilo Princip and like traveled all through like the journey of his life and met people along the way, and that was great. But then after a while, as I was like very deep in the history, I was like, this is maybe too much, because Rajiv is doing his own thing and taking his own artistic liberties. So I kind of, after a few weeks, put that history aside and was like, let me focus on what's actually on the page and what serves the story and how can I best serve the play that we have.
Absolutely. And how did you kind of decide what was too much research versus too little research? Was there a happy medium that you found, or?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of had to give myself a hard line, because I could have just never even looked at the script and just had fun in the research. So I was like, okay, after 2 weeks or whatever, I need to put some of these books down and just go to the script. And I think all of the research that I did was just like sitting in my brain. So as I was reading, things would stick out. I'd be like, oh, this reminds me of that real part of Gavrilo's life, or things I learned about the Austro-Hungarian Empire and stuff like that. So I think it was really good to just have that, the history in my body, but then, and let that kind of trickle into the play.
Yeah. And how much did you let it trickle into the play? Like, how much did your research benefit your character, especially in this more modern take?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a decent amount. Like in our play, Gavrilo, he doesn't have the same backstory per se, but he has been told kind of his whole life that he's weak and can't, fit in with other people. And in Gavrilo's real life, he felt that way. He was kind of a sickly boy. He wanted to join the army and fight on behalf of Serbia, but they told him he was too weak to join the army. So he was dejected. He couldn't really find his place anywhere. So although we don't talk about that in the play, just that idea of a dejected boy came in a lot. And then also research that was really helpful, that was not historical research, was modern research, looking at like incels and school shooters and people that are doing political violence all the time. Like we turn on our news and we're seeing all of these terrible things. And that was actually really helpful research, learning about kind of what drives boys and young men to do violent acts.
I'm sure the psychology behind that is insane. And the balance when being a character with that mindset and then kind of getting out of that mindset, like post the show, obviously.
Yeah.
What's that been like, playing a character of that caliber, I suppose?
Yeah. It's interesting because Gavrilo, in our play, I find him to be very lovable. And he's got such a big heart. And I think it shows that young men and boys are so impressionable. And so it's really like Patrick Page who like controls what information we know. So I think I try to like lean into the heart of the character, and that helps rationalize his thoughts. So at the end of it, we also, our ending is kind of a bit of a spoiler alert. We have a little bit of like a hopeful fantasy ending now, where so much of the play is about talking about how these boys, they'll do anything for a sandwich because they're poor, hungry boys. And at the end, there is this sandwich that comes out. And I think even though there's so much like darkness throughout it, like ending on this sandwich and like this hope of life and maybe not doing the violent act, I think lets me leave the theater in a really hopeful way.
Yeah. Because wasn't that the thing with World War I? It started because of a sandwich.
That's like the urban legend. That's like, they say like that Gavrilo was eating a sandwich when the Archduke and Duchess drove by. And that's kind of like the urban legend. So we've leaned into that in our play. And it was this like, the way that the whole assassination went in real life is super absurd. Like, it's a comedy of errors. The bombs are bouncing off of the wrong cars, and they take poison. It doesn't work. They try to jump off of a bridge, but the water's so shallow that they just break their leg. And it's all of these crazy things. And I think that's what inspired Rajiv to like take such an absurdist take on the show.
Absolutely. And what were some of the facts that you found about Gavrilo that were just either absurd or crazy, or anything that you use now? Or just what'd you learn from your research?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know how much well, maybe we did use this. So like the end of our play is very like James Bond-esque. Like it's these 3 young boys wearing suits and black gloves and like cool hats and carrying suitcases on a train. And it's funny that in real life, like these boys were reading like mystery novels, and they're like 19-year-old boys reading these mystery novels. And so much of what they did was because they were like inspired by these like suave stories or like the Scarlet Pimpernel. And so apparently when they learned that the Archduke was coming to Sarajevo, Gavrilo was like dancing this traditional Serbian dance in a nightclub. And then someone walked over to him with like an envelope and slid it to him. And in the envelope was just like a newspaper clipping saying Archduke to be in Sarajevo. And then they like looked at each other and were like, meet me in the cemetery at midnight and we'll discuss. So it was like, it really, the whole thing was absurd and mysterious. And I think I let some of that like James Bond-esque come into the end of our play.
That's so cool. Because history is sometimes just so fact and that's it.
Yeah.
And just very, but in hindsight, like that was real people doing real things, and like nothing in real life is ever just factual and just plain and simple. Yeah. That is so cool that you're able to bring that into your show.
Yeah.
And you clearly learned more about World War I in general as well. Did you learn any interesting facts about that?
It's funny because I know so much now about what happened right before World War I. I haven't even like, there was so much to learn about like the geopolitics of the day before World War I. I haven't even ventured into World War I yet.
That's true.
That's for the next show, if I am lucky enough to do another one.
Absolutely. And what have you found really important and impactful with doing your research for this role?
Yeah, so for this role, and also maybe just the broader idea of like research in general, I think it helps, even if not everything you use becomes a part of the role of the show, I think it just helps you like get that time period or the character or the real person into your body and into your mind. And I think research, and when it comes to like historical figures, it's so important because all the things you learn into your subconscious, and whether or not you're consciously being like, oh, that fact is going to apply to this scene, I think it just becomes a part of you in the sensibilities of the character, and it's a part of this like toolbox that you have playing a character. So I think research really is important, and just immersing yourself in a world and in a person is really helpful.
Absolutely. And it seems like there was actually a lot of information about Gavrilo in general, but how is it embodying a real life person in this absurdist setting?
Yeah, I think we're lucky because like most people have no idea who he is.
Right.
I think if you know anything about the story, it's that like it's the name Archduke Franz Ferdinand, because it's just such like a memorable name. So I'm a little lucky that people don't have like preconceived notions of his. It's not like some of these big biopic movies or like MJ the musical, where like people are coming to see Michael Jackson,
Right.
or like I'm thinking about like the Bob Dylan movie or Bruce Springsteen. So I could kind of do it however I wanted to.
Right.
So that was nice. But with somebody like Gavrilo, a lot of people have different opinions on him. Some people think he was a hero fighting against imperialism. Other people think that he was a terrorist. So kind of towing the line, just like playing him in our absurdist version and not really trying to take preconceived notions of him.
Totally. Did your own opinions or preconceived notion ever creep in, or were you able to kind of just drop those and focus on
Yeah,
Gavrilo?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think I tried to leave that at the door and just take the play for face value. And he is a very lovable character in the play, so I tried to just lean into that.
Yeah.
More than think about what I feel or what Rajiv maybe feels about him.
Yeah. What is your advice? So say someone just got a role and it's based off a historical figure. What advice would you give them on to where they should start in their research process?
I feel like we have the world at our fingertips now. So like go to your local bookstore or library and just see what you can find. Google searches. I feel like there's so many great resources on YouTube, like videos, and there's a million podcasts about everything now. So I would say like find out all that you can. But then also something that was really interesting was looking at Serbian and Yugoslavian, I don't know, media to see like what is like the sense of humor in that part of the world. Like expand yourself, not just like learning about the character, but if you're doing something in a region of the world, seeing how they tell this story, seeing how we tell the story in America, like looking from every angle about how people view something. And I don't know, you can never get enough.
You can never get enough. Do you have to do dialects in the show?
Thankfully, no, because that I don't know how I would do with that. But
Right.
yeah, we do say some Serbian words, but we do it all in our own dialects, which is really nice. Yeah.
Because I remember learning, just when learning a dialect, you'd go back to the source of like, what do these people do in their daily life? Like, what does this look like? Like embracing not just the culture, but just the whole social aspect in general to then inform your dialect. So I was curious if you learned dialects or if you were
we didn't have to for this, but we're also lucky. Our director, Darko Trejnik, he was born in modern day like what is now Serbia.
Wow.
He was born where the play starts.
Yeah.
So he brought in a lot of videos for us to watch and music for us to listen to. And I feel like he kind of imbued his Yugoslavian sensibilities into the play, which was really cool.
That's really cool. And how has that informed your performing, and why is that important to know that background?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain parts where like he's telling us all about the food, and food is such a big part of the show because these boys are so hungry. And so like he's describing to us these foods and what a dinner table would look like, what a wedding would look like, and like all of these things, and it just like gets you excited about it. And we do some like dancing at one point, and he showed us videos of the dancing, and it kind of just makes it all feel very real.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite part of the show?
Oh my God. Favorite part. I love, the first scene is really fun because it feels, it's me and one other character for a long time, and then a third character kind of suddenly enters, and we're waiting for this guy, and it's very like Waiting for Godot-esque. And I love just kind of like the back and forth, the absurdism of all that I love. And then the second scene, which is this big dinner scene sharing the stage with the entire cast, is really fun and gets pretty crazy.
If you've done a lot of research, or maybe you've done a less research than someone else in your cast or all that stuff, have you found, or how is it acting with a scene partner who might have a different way of researching their person, especially if they're researching themselves and not your character?
Yeah, that's so interesting because everyone kind of has their own process and brings in their own thing. I think that it's important to let your research kind of be yours and not get in the way of anybody else. So I think you can use research as long as it serves you and serves the story, but you don't want to jump on anyone else's toes. And I think luckily we all kind of came in with a lot of research, even to the point where it was like, actually, this doesn't have to do with the play that we're doing. Like, so we kind of had to even take a step back and be like, that is history. This is the play.
Right.
But I think you want to do enough that it helps yourself, and you don't really want to step on anybody else's toes. And luckily, I feel like everyone kind of did what they needed to bring themselves to the story and all that.
Awesome. And we keep mentioning the word absurdist.
Yes.
Would you mind defining what absurdism is?
Oh my God, that's difficult.
I know. Or your own definition.
My own definition of absurd. I feel that it is, for us, it's like darkly comedic, making light of a world that makes no sense, and characters that are searching for meaning in a perhaps meaningless world.
Yeah. And how does your show with the absurdism follow the set and the costumes and all that? Does it follow historical accuracy, or is it more all over the place, or is it a mix?
Ooh, I think our set actually, especially in the first act, is fairly realistic. We're in like a warehouse, and then we're in like a dining room, but I think it is like the dialogue is absurd, and kind of the situations are, but we're kind of grounded in like a real world, which I think is helpful to the show. It kind of doesn't let it get too far-fetched, and it helps remind that, like, as crazy as what's going on, these things really happened. These boys are being manipulated. Violence exists. So I think that kind of counterpoint between the absurd situations and the real world meshes really well together.
Has there been any times and moments where you just felt kind of lost or just didn't know what to do with the character in a certain moment? Or
Yeah. I feel lost all the time. It's so scary doing it, and I feel like it's scary and hard, and every night I kind of, before I go on, it's kind of like, can I do this again? Like, will I make it work? But then somehow you trust the research and the work, and you trust the other people that you're sharing the stage with, and it always kind of happens. And something that you kind of can fall back on is, as much as the research is helpful in finding a character, just in general, I think it's also helpful. One of the first things I look at too is not how I'm different from this character, but how is Jake similar to this character? Because at the end of the day, I really only know me.
Right.
So if I can also imbue a lot of myself into the character, if I don't know what I'm doing or where I am, or things get scary, I'm like, okay, who is Jake within this person? How would I react? How do I relate it all to myself? And I think that is something that I can like firmly grasp onto when it is scary, or when I don't know like who this person is.
Right. And what traits of Jake do you bring into Gavrilo?
I love a sandwich. That's like the easiest thing.
What sandwich do you like? What sandwich is Gavrilo eating?
So in the play, we eat a sandwich, and that sandwich this is probably like the number one question that people ask when we get out of the show at the stage door.
What's in the sandwich?
In the sandwich at Archduke at the Lower Pels Theater is on a Kaiser roll with lettuce, tomato, turkey, and yellow mustard. Simple but delicious.
Yum.
I eat 8 of them a week, and each one is more delicious than the next.
Wow. And who makes them?
I think it's mostly David, who works on our show, and he is amazing. And
shout out David.
He makes a bomb sandwich every day.
That's incredible.
And it's so like, we talk about the sandwich the whole show, so when we finally eat it, like, I look forward to it. It is so like gratifying. But besides that, I'm trying to get sponsored by Katz's Deli. I love Katz's Deli. Pastrami on rye is my favorite. So
shout out Katz.
I've messaged you guys on Instagram. You don't respond, but I would love to be sponsored by Katz's Deli.
You're like, do you know who I am?
I am a nice Jewish boy in New York City. I would love to be sponsored by you. I
would love to know, Jake.
Yes.
If you could choose any historical figure ever, who would you be? What would you want to learn? And what would the show be about?
Wow.
I know, it's a loaded question.
Top of mind, I think let's make it a movie.
Brilliant.
Or a series.
Yeah.
For the hell of it, why
But
not?
like, why not? We have freedom of choice right now.
Yeah, it's a fantasy. And I think I would want to play the artist Marc Chagall.
Okay.
Who was a painter in the 1900s, and he was born in a shtetl in Russia, if we know what a shtetl is, like a Jewish community in Russia, and then ended up becoming like a huge prominent artist in Europe, living in Paris in the 20s and 30s, bumping elbows with Picasso and all these artists. And some of his famous paintings that people may know are like, well, one of his most famous paintings was like the inspiration for the title Fiddler on the Roof, because he used to draw these like or paint these dreamlike images of his childhood village and of like these shtetl buildings, and one famous one had a green fiddle player standing on a rooftop. It's a famous painting. And that's kind of how they got the title Fiddler on the Roof. And this amazing story of like a poor Jewish boy who becomes this artist who is in all of these artistic movements of the 20th century, and then living in Paris when the Nazis take over, and he doesn't want to leave because he loves Paris, but ends up having to escape the Nazis with his wife, who he would paint beautiful paintings of the two of them, like as lovers, like flying over Paris. He's just like this romantic, beautiful artist. Wow. And I think his story is incredible, and how even as he was living this kind of extravagant life in Paris, all of his paintings had to do with this, like his upbringing as like a Jewish boy in his village. He fled the Nazis, moved to America, ended up living a long time. I would love to tell that story. That was maybe very long-winded, but that's who I would want to play, Marc Chagall.
So any producers who are listening to this, we have a full-fledged, thought-out story
Let's
for
do
you.
it.
That was awesome. You already know so much about it.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And that's just because Timothée Chalamet stole the Bob Dylan biopic, which is really what I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
But so I'll do Marc Chagall instead.
Wait, that actually sounds incredible. I love art, and I love art stories. Have you know Sunday in the Park with George?
Okay, so I don't do musicals, but if I would train to do musicals to play George, I love that play so much. Are you a fan of that?
I am a fan of that. Anything, my mom's an artist, so anything that ties like theater and art and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, it's awesome.
What kind of art does she do?
All the kinds. She watercolors, oils, pastels, landscapes, portraits, still life. She does it all. She's awesome. She's incredible. But
That's amazing.
I love mixed media in terms of just that.
And even in bringing it kind of back to the lecture, even in terms of research, so much of the research I did too was also just finding images and art that kind of spoke to me or spoke to the character. And I am not an artist, but so much of the play is about like meaning. So finding art that brought me meaning, or finding art that would maybe be, what is life without meaning? What would that look like in art, and different things. So I think as an artist, pulling in as many different medias as you can is so helpful.
Were there any other little tactics that you used when doing your research?
I guess also just to that, maybe finding music that spoke to me, or music and different things like that resonated with me or the character. I think that became really important. So stuff like that.
Do you have a pre-show ritual or like prep thing that you do?
I've got my like warm-ups and things like that, but it kind of changes in terms of the things that are going to like lock me into what the show feels like. Kind of changes day to day depending on what I'm feeling, what I think a lot about before the show, because the first thing that Gavrilo comes in wanting is like a meaning in life. So kind of every day it changes, like, what am I grateful for? What would give me meaning today? And try to let that be really malleable and honest to like how I'm feeling each day.
Wow. Do you use real life things within your character, or do you just focus mainly on the historical context of it?
When it comes to the practice of it, I think what has become more potent for me is real life things that bring me meaning and
Absolutely.
that are special to me.
Yeah. And this is your New York City theatrical debut.
It is.
How has that been?
Oh, it is a dream come true. It has been amazing. I've been, pounding the pavement for a while, working all of my day jobs, just auditioning, and to be doing a show like this that I love and that I think is so incredible with veteran artists like Patrick Page and Christine Nielsen, and then these amazing actors that are making debuts like me. Shout out Jason and Adrian, who are just like, they are amazing, and it's been so fun. And working with Darko and Rajiv, people that I admire, and everybody around about, it's been a dream come true. I'm loving every second of it.
Is Rajiv in the rehearsal process with you?
Yeah, Rajiv was there the whole time and making rewrites and handing us new pages and giving us insight. And there is nothing better than like being in the rehearsal room or even like in the theater during previews and like you hear Rajiv laugh at a joke.
Yes.
And you're just like, yes, like
did it.
I don't need anyone to laugh but him. It's awesome because he wrote the thing, and like it's really cool when you can make the playwright laugh at their own jokes.
Absolutely. How is it getting the rewrites? How's that adjustment?
I think the rewrites have been great. It's been making the show a lot more precise and kind of whittling it down to its final form has been great.
That is so cool. And working with kind of the Broadway icons, how's that been? Were the professionals and learning from them?
They're amazing. They are pros at what they do. They are like generous on stage and funny, and they vary their performances up every night and bring just like something new that makes it really fun to play off of them. So I've learned a lot from talking to them and also just being on stage with them.
That's so sick. And how is the theatrical acting differ from your film background?
Yeah, so I just did my first film, Merv, on Amazon Prime.
Yes, with Zoe.
Yeah, with Zoe Deschanel and Charlie Cox. I have a couple of scenes in that with Charlie Cox, and it's so different. I feel like both are really fun, but I feel like theater is becomes such like an actor's medium where you get to play out the whole story and do it every single day and try it out. So I really do love that, but I would love to do even more film and TV because I find the amount of people that it takes for like a film set to run, I think is amazing. And it's so interesting seeing everybody do their job. And as an actor, being a small part of that, I find really fun. So I'd love to continue doing both.
Did you have to do any historical research for Merv?
No.
No.
The crazy part was we worked with a lot of dogs. Like my character, we were in a dog shelter. So we had like all of these dogs around us, and these are like professional dogs. And like they each have their little shtick that they can do. Like some can yap on command, some can jump on command. They all had these like different things that they did. So that
not the professional dogs.
They were way more prepared than I was for that.
Were they union?
Yeah. Union dogs, only
for
union
sure.
dogs.
Sorry,
for sure.
Just making sure. That's crazy. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk about with your topic? Researching historical rehearsal process to performance. Or I guess what was the rehearsal process like versus the performance?
Yeah. So I think in the rehearsal process, we did bring in a lot of the research and we had a lot of conversations about, okay, how does this fit into the history? We compressed like years of time into a play that takes place over 2 days. So we did talk a lot about how does this fit into the history, but then in performance, you kind of trust that all the research happened and just let the research and the rehearsal go into the play. And I think one thing, and this is maybe a little bit of another tangent, but that's interesting, is some people will watch our play and be like, that's not how it happened. Or like, this is not the real history. This is not what these people did. And I think what this play in Rajiv does so well is he takes history, but takes his own artistic liberties and is not apologetic for that. And I think the play really mirrors society today and disillusioned young men, political violence, all of these things, and takes the ideas from history, takes these characters, takes these events, but makes it really meaningful for now. And something Rajiv, I heard him say once, was that if we want history, we can read a book. but we're fortunate to be doing a play where we can do so much more. And so that's why I think it's great to take these artistic, absurdist, whatever spin you want to take. And so I think that's kind of what we're doing with Archduke.
So cool. Have you had any historical sticklers in the audience come up after you?
We've had some in the comments on Instagram, you know, coming at us, that telling us it's not accurate, but I think any engagement is good engagement. And I think art should be divisive. I think some people will agree with our portrayal of the story, some people won't. And I think as long as it gets people thinking and talking, I think that's what a good play is all about.
Absolutely. My dad, when I told him that you were coming on and you were an Archduke and all that stuff, he was like, you have to get all the history about World War I and you need to know this and you need to do that. He is such a history buff. I don't know if he would be in the comments to be like, this isn't exactly what happened, but there are people out there who would totally be like, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is good.
And I love the history too. Like I said, know way more than I ever thought I would about pre-World War I Europe. But I think it's fun to let that be there and then let our play also live in communion with that, but not be the same exact thing as the actual facts.
Absolutely. I wish this was coming out prior to Archduke closing because I would be like, go freaking see Archduke. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
Selfishly. I know about it way prior.
But hopefully you can read it after this and read the play and just... there's so many historical plays happen. Like we Ragtime right now, that'll be running still. I feel like everyone go see Ragtime. That was amazing. And they blend together so well. History and also their own story. I think they do that in an incredible way.
Absolutely. Final thoughts. Any promotions, final thoughts, anything in the world? We have like 2 minutes left.
Final thoughts. I feel like we talked a lot about Archduke, so if we're still running, come see Archduke. Watch Merv on Amazon Prime after December 10th. It's a great holiday rom-com. Watch with the fam.
Yes.
And besides that, just listen to Broadway lectures. This has been amazing. I so appreciate you guys having me here. And
thank you for saying yes to coming on.
No, this has been so fun. It's great to meet you.
It's great to meet you. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Yeah.
I always want to look at your camera. I'm like, they can't see me. Nice to meet everyone. Jake, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fun. Yay! Oh.